Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the interview. I'm your host, DynamiteTiger. And this week, I'm pleased to announce our guest is Ongurth. If you've been to any of our Bible studies, you'll know Ongurth by name. And he does a great job with that. Ongurth, welcome to the show. Thanks for doing this. Thanks for coming out.
Thanks for having me on. It's an honor.
Awesome. I kind of like to start things off by asking a couple of different questions that kind of open things up. And the first thing I'd like to ask you is, where does your gamer tag come from? Because it's very unusual. Like Ongurth, is that like a nickname you've had or something?
So it's an Elvish word. It means to give death. When I was
Okay.
14 years old, I was coming up with a Halo name back in the old days of the original Xbox. And
Okay.
got Elvish and kind of came up with one from that. I've actually encountered in my 11 years around here one person who spoke Elvish, believe it or not, from Lord of the Rings.
Really?
And knew what my name meant. Yeah.
Wow. That's a unique skill. It's like knowing Klingon.
Yeah. Yep.
That's pretty awesome. That reminds me, kind of like, it's like my username. I've actually had mine since I was like 14 also, and my first name is Tony, so naturally I had like the nickname Tony the Tiger because of Frosted Flakes.
They're great.
And yeah, exactly. And funny enough, actually at the time I was playing a lot of Counter-Strike, and my younger brother, who's about a year younger than I am, started actually the username DynamiteTiger, and he used it only for like a month and then felt like he didn't like it. And he's like, "Here, you could probably just take this over if it suits you better anyways." And then I just ran with it, and
Nice.
I've had it for like 20 years now.
Nice.
So it's been it worked out great. Cool. So now you've been a part of CCG for about how long now?
About 11 years.
11 years.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, remind me, because I'm relatively new to the community. CCG's been around since what was it? 2003.
I think 2003 or 2004. I joined.
Yeah, I thought so.
It was the end of 2006, beginning of 2007.
Okay.
So a little over 11 years, I guess. So it'd been around for a while by the time I got here.
And you joined for what? Were you just looking for? Was it like, I think it was really Counter-Strike heavy at that time?
It was Counter-Strike heavy. I was more of a Battlefield 2 player, so I actually
cool.
was in the Battlefield 2 scrim team, which we had for a little while. And then when that fell apart, just because of we didn't have that many Battlefield players around here, I went over to Counter-Strike, and I'm horrible at Counter-Strike. Worst player in CC. Yeah.
I'm not that great at it either. But funny enough, I actually was a Battlefield player myself. I ran squads right up until Battlefield 4, and then the game just kind of died because they made it too casual.
Yeah, Battlefield 3 was a good game. Battlefield 4 on Xbox was really good.
Yeah. I played on PS4. It was the same. Yeah, for sure.
Yep.
Yeah, and PS3, the Battlefield 3. So you probably played 3 on Xbox, the original?
Nope, played 3 on Xbox One. It was one of the first Xbox One games to come out.
Oh, is that right? Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, good times. So have you always been a gamer? Sounds like, I mean you've been here for 11 years. Have you been playing games for like most of your life, or?
Yeah, started on PC back when I was 5 years old. I remember my dad coming home from a business trip late one night. He had the video game called Rebel Assault, for those of you who are products of the of the late 80s, early 90s.
The Rebellion.
Yeah. I actually just bought Rebellion on the new Star Wars sale this week. So
right?
Rebel Assault was one of my first games. X-Wing as well, and then played Rebellion for a while. We didn't have the internet in the house until 2007, actually, about 6 weeks before I joined the clan. We
Oh
got the
wow,
internet, yeah.
really?
But I had an Xbox when that first came out and played a lot of Halo. Kind of cut my teeth on the first-person shooters on the console.
Oh, okay, okay. Yeah, I think for a lot of people, console was like the bridge to serious gaming. When it became like multiplayer became a thing, like you could do online playing with consoles. That was a huge jump for gaming in general. I think it was the same for me.
Yeah, LAN play was really the first time I had a chance to do multiplayer, right? Because we had a PC, but it was just a regular kind of working desktop. We had a couple games like Rebellion and Lego Racer and stuff that my brother and I used to play. But when we got a Xbox, that was the first time we got to play together. So yeah,
Cool.
it was kind of a new world for me at that point.
It reminds me like my first experience was on Nintendo 64 playing James Bond
Yeah,
007.
GoldenEye.
Those were some good times. Yeah, because that was the like one of the first opportunities that you had to actually play multiplayer. Because on the 64 was the first one you could actually play four players at
Yeah.
once, and it was a four-player split screen. But there was no such thing as big screens back then, so you were playing on like a 32-inch screen. You could barely see your character.
Dude,
Good times.
I spent many hours of my life playing split screen 3 or 4 player on a 20-inch display, a little portable TV up at our lake cabin.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
yeah. Standard def. There was no
Oh
high def
man,
back then.
it's like, yeah, exactly right. Like, oh man, I don't know how we managed.
Ah,
Now people,
yeah, we're
it's
gonna
funny
need
now,
glasses by the time we're 30 or something. Who knows?
I'm already past that. The funny thing is that, like kids these days complain like, oh, it's not 4K. Dude, like, it's not bad. Like,
Yeah.
it still looks good.
Back in my day, we had to use a little power crank to power the TV.
Yeah, right. Oh, too funny. So you've been here quite a long time now. So like, is there? I'm sure there's multiple occurrences and stuff, but is there something a memory say that you have within CCG that for you kind of how can I put this, envelops what CCG is about? Like this is something that you're like, yeah, this is why I came here, and this is what this is all about.
That's a good question. I think back on the times when either I was able to help someone and they came back to me later and told me that, something I said or something I did really helped them. And the times when people around here were able to help me, those are the times that really stick out to me as, this place being a more than gamers, Christians first, gamers second. So a community of Christians. There's not one specific instance, it's kind of a conglomerate of instances. In my own life, I know, when I first started hanging around here, I was 16, 17, something like that. I'm 28 now. And I had a chance to kind of, they put me on the council pretty early. I had a chance to watch some of these guys like Global and some of the other guys lead and deal with conflict, and really taught me a lot about what it means to be a man, deal with conflict, how to lead in a volunteer situation. A lot of good life lessons from that.
Right, right. Being in a leadership position teaches you very quickly how to be diplomatic, and like trying to put out fires and things like that. And yeah, it's definitely a life skill, something that like you can't just pick up. It's something that you learn dealing with people. The more and more you interact socially with people, the more you learn how to diffuse situations and things like that. Absolutely. Yep. Now, with you specifically, you're unique in the community, being part of the leadership of the Bible study groups and things like that, and the study. Is there a reason specifically why you jumped into that? Like, do you have schooling in that?
I do. I was homeschooled through a curriculum known as a Becca. Okay. We had us doing Bible doctrine classes by the 10th grade. So, and then I went to college up here called Crown College in St. Bonnie. Had a double major, one in Christian studies, one in communications. So that's kind of my technical background. The real reason why I took it over was when I came to CC. When I first started, there was a guy named Deacon. He was a church elder from Maine who was leading Bible studies in TeamSpeak, and he kind of took me under his wing as kind of a mentor, being a mentor for me. Kind of taught me how he did it, and then when he left, it kind of just got passed down to me, and I've kind of had the responsibility ever since until Winged came along, and it's been great having him to kind of co-lead with me and take some of the burden off my shoulders and having someone to hold me accountable.
Yeah, you know what? It's something that large. I mean, no different than, and I don't like to make this association necessarily, but no different than a person who's leading a church or a pastor or a deacon or things like that, having to do things there every week on a regular basis. It takes a lot out of a person. Like it takes a lot of time and effort that a lot of people don't see behind the scenes in preparation, and having to do that every week without break is very taxing. And so, yeah, I'm glad to see that also, that you guys are doing that as a team.
It helps. It's allowed us to do some other things then too, right? Like book study and special event nights and things like that, because number one, I have a different perspective on it, which is healthy. And number two, when I'm not just, trying to come up with weeks on end of studies, it allows us to be a little more creative.
Now, because you've had such heavy amounts of studies in theology, is that something that you do in real life? Like, is that your
Nope, I work for a newspaper. I'm an advertising sales guy, so I come up with advertising for local businesses, build their ads, sell them to them, make sure they're happy, that sort of stuff, yeah.
So that's like a full-time job? You do that Monday to Friday?
Full-time job, yep. I'm also a manager for that newspaper conglomerate too. So I sell and I manage, so it's kind of like two jobs. Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow, okay. So more than 40 hours.
Yep, unfortunately. Yeah.
Okay. It seems, I'm kind of surprised by that. It seems like an unusual course of action. Did you kind of fall into that? Like, did you start at the bottom of the ladder? You were like a newspaper boy and worked your way up, or how did that happen?
I did kind of fall into it. I wanted to work for a local newspaper in college, and when I went into college in 2008, they said, the admissions counselor said, by the time you graduate, there'll be no newspapers left. I'm like, yeah, sure. I had a communications professor who was really into local media, because he said a lot of times we know more about what's going on around the world than we do across the street. Local media is really the way to overcome that. So I went and interviewed for an editorial position, like a writer position at the paper, and actually got hired on as a sales guy. And I was like, this is going to be not really my skill set, but it wound up being okay. I want to be able to tell the story. I like telling stories. So I got to tell the stories of the local businesses in the paper through advertising. It has its ups and downs. It's had some really rough times, but God uses the rough times to teach us things as well. So
that's the truth. You know what? It's funny how we often find ourselves in a place we never thought we would be.
Yeah.
And realize that, wow, God's actually like really using me in this situation, and I didn't think that it was going to happen.
Yeah, and bringing it back around to CC, I mean, that's a perfect example of CC. When I joined, I was looking for just some, some Christian guys to hang out with, and here I am over 11 years later, still with the group. I never would have imagined the group would still be here, let alone I'd still be here. But God has different plans.
Right.
So, yeah.
That's awesome. Really awesome. All right, so let's get off the kind of real life stuff here for a second and go back to gaming a little bit. If there was a game that you feel like they could redo and make it again in 2018, what game would that be that you'd love to see remade?
Splinter Cell Chaos Theory and X-Wing.
Oh, I remember Splinter Cell. That was yeah. I played Splinter Cell myself. That was it was like the first. It was one of the first games that actually really did stealth.
I love Splinter Cell. The main character, his name is Sam. My name is Samuel in real life.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
He wears his watch on his right wrist. I do too. He drives a Jeep. I do too. He does Krav Maga. I do too. I'm basically Sam Fisher, only he's cooler because he's got Michael Ironsides voicing him. So, so I love that series.
What was that last thing you said there? You said you do what in real
Krav
life?
Maga. It's an Israeli form of hand-to-hand combat.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh,
Yep.
really? I don't think I've ever heard of that before. How do you spell that? How do you say? How
So
do you say it
it's
again?
transliterated, right? So it doesn't have
Oh,
so
okay,
because in Hebrew it's different letters, but it's Krav. So
sure.
Krav space Maga, Maga. Literally
Okay,
translates to touching fighting. So hand-to-hand combat. Yeah.
okay. And I've never heard of this style ever. So is this like similar to
It's a
karate?
little different. If you've ever played Splinter Cell Conviction, yeah,
Don't think I did.
the
No.
gun takeaways and a lot of the hand-to-hand combat in that game is actually Krav Maga. I know some of the instructors who consulted with that game.
Interesting. So you do that just to stay fit, or because you kind of really like that from a young
I
age?
started doing it in college because number one, Splinter Cell. Number two, um, number two, I saw a show on the History Channel where these guys traveled the world, did a bunch of martial arts, and the one that really stuck out to me was Krav Maga. So I Googled Krav Maga locally, and one of the only places that taught it in Minnesota at the time was in my town. So started doing
Wow.
it just because it was fun, and I've stayed with it because I think it's a really good life skill and because it's helps me stay fit too.
Yeah, yeah, I imagine it would. That's pretty cool. I mean, I'd love to keep talking with you and get to know you better. This has been great, but I think we're kind of running out of time, and I need to kind of wrap things up. I really appreciate you sitting down with us, and for everybody else who's part of the community and listen to this, if you want to chat with Ongurth, I'm sure he would say, yeah, go ahead and just send me a message. We can chat. He's on the Discord all the time. He's playing a lot of PUBG lately,
Lots of
right?
PUBG. Yep, I'm a little obsessed.
I've seen a few matches.
Nice.
You play well. For everybody else, just a quick reminder again, if you have any suggestions for questions that we should ask for our following guests, if you do like this segment, please say so in the comments below the newsletter. We do appreciate your comments and
Audio Jungle.